How did one man murder 5 women in just 6 weeks and vanish into the fog of everyday life? A quiet street, a familiar face, a hidden killer. Ipswich, 2006.
For the families who have lost their daughters, including us, they can't take away our memories. They can't take away our love, our fortitude, our courage.
That's where they've been. The bodies in the water, the most difficult things about those actually for us was recovering them. That brook was running very, very fast when those bodies were found, and we needed to be very careful about how we removed the bodies with care from that brook so that we could capture all the forensic evidence we needed to.
A city brought to its knees as fear tightened its grip, and bodies began turning up in brooks, woods, and roadside ditches. One by one, their bodies surfaced in icy brooks, wooded trails, and lonely country lanes. This is the full story behind one of Britain's deadliest predators.
He was the quiet man next door, a forklift driver, a pub regular, a father. But behind the curtain of a dull, working-class life, Stephen Wright was hiding a monstrous secret. In 2006, he shocked the nation as the Suffolk Strangler, convicted of murdering 5 women in Ipswich. But now, nearly 2 decades later, his shadow grows darker. In 2024, Wright was charged with the cold case murder of 17-year-old Victoria Hall, a teenager who vanished after a night out in 1999. Could the Suffolk Strangler have even more victims? This is the story of a killer the justice system thought they'd locked away, and the haunting case that refuses to rest. The autumn of 2006 sent waves of terror through the streets of Ipswich, Suffolk. Over the course of 6 weeks, the bodies of 5 young women, all sex workers, were discovered, naked and dumped in remote areas around the town. Each had been strangled or asphyxiated. The media dubbed the unknown killer the Suffolk Strangler. The pressure on Suffolk police was immense, and within weeks, suspicions led to Stephen Gerald James Wright, a 48-year-old forklift truck driver who lived just yards from the red light district. He had a criminal record, a history of paying for sex, and forensic evidence, including fibers and DNA, linked him to the victims. In 2008, Wright was convicted of all 5 murders and sentenced to life imprisonment. But while the public believed justice had been served, one family, that of Victoria Hall, continued to wait for answers. On the night of September 18th, 1999, 17-year-old Victoria Hall had been out at a nightclub in Felixstowe. She said goodbye to her best friend at around 2:30 a.m., just yards from her front door. But Victoria never made it home. Her body was discovered 5 days later, dumped in a water-filled ditch 25 miles away near Creeding St. Peter. She had been sexually assaulted and strangled. Her clothing and personal belongings had been removed. Despite massive media coverage, the case went cold for decades. No arrests, no prime suspects. But in 2021, a renewed cold case team began re-examining old forensic evidence using modern DNA techniques. And in October 2023, whispers began to spread. A major breakthrough was coming. On July 10th, 2024, Suffolk police announced a stunning development. Stephen Wright had been formally charged with the murder of Victoria Hall. After nearly 25 years, the case had cracked open. According to investigators, advanced forensic techniques uncovered a DNA profile on items recovered from the crime scene that matched Wright's. He had been living just 15 miles from Felixstowe at the time of the murder. His method, strangulation, disposal in rural Suffolk, the removal of personal effects, bore eerie similarities to the Ipswich killing 7 years later. Prosecutors argue that Hall may have been Wright's first known victim, a possible prelude to his 2006 spree. Wright has pleaded not guilty. His trial is scheduled for early 2026 and will likely be one of the most closely watched murder trials in recent British history. Victoria Hall's case may not be the end of the story. Since Wright's new charge, police have quietly reopened several unsolved disappearances across East Anglia and Essex, dating from the late 1990s to early 2000s. His work history and travel patterns show he moved around the region frequently. There are whispers of other missing women whose cases bear similarities: young, vulnerable, strangled, and discarded in isolated spots. Former detectives have publicly speculated that Wright could be responsible for up to 10 or more deaths. But without conclusive evidence, these remain chilling possibilities. Now, the question looms: is Stephen Wright merely the man behind 5 murders? Or is he one of Britain's most prolific, undiscovered serial killers? For the families of Stephen Wright's victims, justice has been bittersweet. The 5 young women murdered in 2006 were often dismissed by the public and press due to their sex work. Victoria Hall, a teenage student with her life ahead of her, has come to represent the overlooked stories of girls who slipped through the cracks. Her parents never gave up, fighting for her case to be reopened year after year. In 2024, they stood outside the courtroom, emotional but composed, as Wright was finally charged with their daughter's murder. Their hope is not just for a conviction, but for acknowledgement, closure, and truth. And for the girls still missing, still unnamed, that someone is still looking. In 2025, public interest in the Suffolk Strangler case has surged once again. Documentaries on Netflix and ITV are drawing millions of views. Reddit threads and TikTok creators are dissecting the timeline, matching Wright to other cases. The justice system is bracing for a high-profile trial in 2026, with intense media scrutiny expected. For many, Wright's story is not just about the evil of one man. It's about failures in policing, social prejudice, and the silent suffering of families left behind. As the trial date approaches, one thing is clear: the full truth about Stephen Wright may be far darker than anyone imagined. He was the man no one suspected until it was too late. And now, decades later, Stephen Wright's crimes continue to echo through the lives of those he shattered. As new investigations unfold and long-lost voices are finally heard, the truth creeps closer. Because sometimes, the past doesn't stay buried. If you found this episode insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. More shocking, untold stories are coming every week, right here on Tea and Tragedy